in using the Bridport walking track as a fitness exercise for the Three Capes track, I was taking a journey from Bridport's past and into the present. We are starting at the junction of the Brid and Forester rivers, where Richard Hall did one of the first surveys of Bridport in 1860. Elizabeth Harrington Brewer purchased 3 of the 8 blocks surveyed. Thomas Diprose, James Campbell, James Crabtree and William Hingston purchased the other blocks. The track skirts the edge of the Brid River through tea tree forest, with glimpses of Torington House, built by the Smythe family in the early 1900s. This stretch of the river was a popular tourist and fishing spot in the early days. Torington House was built for Captain A.B. Smythe, master of the ketch Coronella. It later became a guest house. Through the trees, I noticed a group of distinctly shaped rocks in the river. An old 1890s photograph of Isaac Waltron fishing in the Brid River showed some identical rocks, so Roger McLennan and I found the same location. Roger didn't catch any fish. I'm not sure about Isaac. Behind Torington House, near the river, I came across an ancient pear tree, which was probably planted by the Brewer family in the 1870s. An old photograph of a neglected orchard at Bowood also supports this idea. An old photograph taken in the early 1900s shows boating on the Brid or Forester rivers. The track continues to skirt the Brid River and is worth keeping your eyes open for local inhabitants. We are about to cross the Brid River on a bridge built as part of a Bridport Innovations project in 2011. Again, you might be lucky. This waterway supplies a Bridport fish farm. It was started in 1964 by Alec Purvis. Niels Blickfeld, a fish farm expert, came from South Africa to help establish the farm. The trout farm hatchery supplies eggs to the international market. After crossing the Brid, we are now following the northern bank of the river. As we approach one of the old settling ponds, we step back in time to July 2011. Here we meet Kate and Frank, entertaining the gathering, who had come to celebrate the opening of the new part of the walking track. Unfortunately, the kumbunga has regrown in the last 10 years, completely covering the pond. The idea of a walking track was first mooted by the Brid River Landcare Group before being taken up by Bridport 2000. The first part of the track was completed in 1994, rekindled through the initiative of the late Kari Harrison. Mark Perkins and Diana Wilson prepared the submission for funding. Sadly, it is no longer possible to see platypuses feeding in the pond. Much of the track was stone-walled by the volunteer workers who learned track building skills. This section of the track passes through a damp environment and it's worth looking for fungi. The heath Apacris impressa is usually in flower throughout the year. Signage has been constructed at various locations along the track, giving an interesting insight into the history, flora and fauna of the area. Here we are told about the early Bridport water supply established in the 1920s and 30s. Holiday campers on the Bridport foreshore often complained of a water shortage, as Bridport had no reticulated water supply in the early days. This weir has served Bridport well for nearly 100 years. It creates a storage lake for the pumping station upstream, as well as water for the fish farm. Don't be surprised to hear the sounds of mountain ducks high up in the trees, particularly during the duck shooting season. We are now about to leave the riverine tea tree ecosystem and start our climb through a dry eucalypt and she oak forest. Shelters have been constructed at 2 locations around the track. Most of the animals in this environment are nocturnal, but you might just see them early in the morning or late in the afternoon. Few people realise that Bridport had its own goldfield. These quartz rocks have been dug up from adits and shafts on the southern slopes of the hill behind Bridport. Between 1870 and 1890, small amounts of reef gold were found at Bridport. Up to 20 claims were marked out, and in 1872 there were about 60 men working at the Bridport goldfields. Shirley Brewer once showed me a gold chain made from gold found near Bridport. Old Jack Pettit would go digging for Bridport gold to pay for re-rigging his ketch, the Coronella. We now reach the second shelter on the track and decide to have a rest and something to drink. From here you get views south, and while resting, reflect on the amazing variety of scenery we have seen so far. Nearby is an information sign showing which birds can be seen along the track. A sea eagle has its nest nearby, and it can often be seen roosting in a dead tree across the estuary at Bridport, if you know where to look. Black cockatoos are frequent visitors to the area. They vigorously attack dead branches looking for grubs. We are now entering a different environment on top of the hill behind Bridport, drier and sunnier than the riverine zone below. It doesn't take long to get back to civilization as the track crosses Main Street and heads further north. Skirting the Bridport golf course, we see another change in vegetation. Banksia and grass trees are common plants. One year the grass trees, for whatever reason, took an unusual shape. They tend to flower in November. Descending along a newly reconstructed section of the track by parks, the acacias and boobiella are starting to flower.
No.
It is worth visiting this part of the track between November and March, when the wildflowers are at their best. Finally, I decide to leave the track at Charles Street and return home. Sometime in the near future, I will continue the walk to Adams Beach and then back to the old pier with more stories about Bridport.